Welcome to my channel. Today I am doing my June book review. So I've got some books here that I want to share with you. I'm going to start off with, what should we start off with? Let us start off with this one. This is The Birds of Britain and Europe. It's by Rob Hume. And it's linked with the RSPB, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, and it's a Dorling Kindersley DK book. This one says £16.99 on the back, but I will leave links to these books in case any of you fancy buying them. This is quite a chunky book. It's what are we looking at here in size, in case that means, or 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and it's a good just over an inch thick. So this is really like a Bible of all of these birds and ducks and things, and it's just full of information, but also all of these beautiful pictures. So if, like me, you are beginning to really get into drawing your birds, and I do have a few other bird books as well, but this one just seemed extremely comprehensive and gives some nice information about their habitats and where they nest and what they feed on, and even similar species as well. It gives the common name for them, and then it also gives their family name and the species name. So you get quite a lot of information if you want to get into your birds a little bit more. Wood pigeon, yes, I had one of those in my garden yesterday. So really pretty, really pretty. Didn't stay very long, but it was there for a little while. We've got woodpeckers here. Great spotted woodpecker, one of my favourites. I can hear them in Tyrrell's Wood, but I haven't seen one yet. And I think also we get the green woodpeckers. That's it. We get those as well in Tyrrell's Wood. So the pictures in here are particularly lovely, and it also gives you, you know, where the kind of places that they breed. It's just that the photographs are rather lovely, and I can see that this is going to be a great book for me to practice drawing my birds. But hey ho, look what else. You get this CD compact disc, and it gives you the bird sounds. And it says, see page 4 of the accompanying book. And when you look at page 4, yes, this is page 4. Okay, it gives you the CD track listing. I'm not sure. Yes, I think that can just about come up. So you can get to know the sounds of the birds that you are seeing. And I wished I'd have had this with me upstairs this morning. There was a lovely bird call, but well, it was probably its morning song, but I wasn't too sure what it was. So yes, something for me to get a little bit more into my birds. Really lovely book. That is The Birds of Britain and Europe by Rob Hume, and in association with the RSPB. So there we go, that's that one. Okay, next let's have a look. I've got 3 books here that are all about pen and wash or line and wash. So let's start with this one by Robert Jennings. and it's a search press book, and it's the Step-by-Step Leisure Arts number 22. So this one cost me £3 something from Amazon, but I really quite like, if I can get that to settle, we've got all these lines going on over the watercolor underneath, and I'm really quite liking that effect. There's a bit about materials and things which I wasn't too interested in, but there are this one is a village scene, and it's a step by step that you can follow along with, and you can see that he's using white gouache in this one. It's not a very thick book, but for £3.50 with these, look at that. And, you know, you've got all this line work, giving the perspective and the watercolour in the background. That one is particularly lovely. That's in Cornwall. Gurnard's Head, Zennor, Cornwall. So it's quite a small little book, and it's got a few, there's a seascape that is a follow along, but for me it's looking at these pages and seeing how he's done his line work over the top, and you know, lots of it looks a little bit like that continuous line work. So yeah, it's very, very interesting, slightly different to some other line and wash that I've seen. And I actually really like the sky on that one. It's really kind of you can see all of the brush marks on it. So quite a slim little book, about A4 size, pen and wash by Robert Jennings, and as I said, it cost me £3 something, so you might want to have a little look for that one. This one is by John Harrison. John Harrison is well known for his pen and wash and urban sketching, etc. And so this is his artist's guide to combining ink and watercolor. This one was £16.99, and it's crowwood.com. So I'm wondering whether this is one that he has got published himself, but we've only got to look at this contents page, and of course I'm not looking at the contents, I'm looking at that picture there, which I absolutely love. It looks so simple, and if we look closely, we've got all this greenery going on, but he's only drawn in the idea of some leaves on the edge here, and he hasn't filled in all of the brick wall or all of the foliage here either. It's like our eye fills the rest in. He just does a small amount, and that does the trick. And these trees are just lovely. The colours in these trees are tremendous. So we've got a little bit about materials and equipment, basics, pencil drawing, composition and perspective, sketchbooks, working with pens, adding colour, dynamic watercolour, leaving white space, that's what I'm not so good at, further techniques and developing your own style. And there's even a list of suppliers here, together with a little introduction about John Harrison, Yorkshire born and bred, and he trained as a graphic designer with a strong illustrative style, which is linked to his childhood, loving things like Rupert the Bear and Just William, the Narnia series and Swallows and Amazons and countless comic books, he says. So he draws his inspiration from many, many different sources. His favoured subject matter is that of built structures in the wider landscape. So gives you a little bit of information about him. And look at this. I just love the fact that that goes off the page. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this bit, and then it can just blur. And you've got these dribbles and spatters going on. It's so effective. So yes, really liking that. It seems that he, like me, quite likes Sea White of Brighton. So that makes me feel as though I have something in common with him already. We've got some fine liners there. He talks about fountain pens and watercolour paper. So Saunders Waterford seems to be his go-to watercolour paper. Then a little look at the paints that he uses, and yeah, the dot cards that you can get, perfect for taking out if you are just doing some urban type sketching. And that doesn't necessarily just mean buildings. It's I think probably it did originally, but for many, urban sketching is really about drawing what you can see when you're out and about, and it's a little bit more like plein air these days. So a little bit more about the paints, and then other equipment like brushes. And I just love knowing what other people have got in their bags that they take out with them. So quite interesting to see his setup here. Oh, and look, for those of us that love the Peganal Sendak, there it is. So yes, it seems that that's something that he likes using. He's got an SAA travel brush set. So have I. So more and more things in common with this person. I love that. SAA is Society for All Artists, which I am a member of. As a member, it means that you get discounted prices on the things that you order from their website. So, oh dear, we're on to a Winsor & Newton Sketchers palette. But maybe he doesn't always put Winsor & Newton paints in it. That's just my personal opinion. I don't, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Winsor & Newton paints. It's just that I prefer Michael Harding and Daniel Smith and my handmade watercolour paints. So a little bit here on composition and the different types of layout. Now that's something that I really am starting to think about. The diagonal layout, the S-shaped layout, etc. A little bit on perspectives here, making windows look realistic. I can see that this book is going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm going to love it. This might be one of the books I take away with me when I go away in September. It talks a little bit about urban sketching, and look at all these. Yes, lots of lovely sketchbooks. Making a sketchbook your own. I might have to have a better read on that one. And then step-by-step demonstration. So we've got a step-by-step demonstration here going on, which is lovely because it gives us practice. Oh, we've got steps. Yay. I must have a better go at doing steps. Then it talks about working with pens, how to hold the pen, the types of ink line, whether it's a continuous line with we've got blind contour drawing, which is where you don't look down at your paper, you just look at what you're drawing. So a little bit here on the kind of lines that we can make, another step-by-step demonstration, and then it talks about adding your watercolor. So it goes into color mixing and wet on wet and dry on wet and all of those kinds of things, using backgrounds and cauliflowers. And then look, we've got another demonstration here. So this is going to be a book that I am taking quite a bit of time to go through, I think, because it kind of suits what I like to look at. I think I've said this before, but the kinds of pictures that I like are very much the kind of illustrations that you might get in books. And because I like books as well, the two fit together quite nicely. So yeah, lots of demonstrations in here to follow along with. I think that's a marvellous book. $16.99, pen and wash by John Harrison, and yeah, he's a well-known urban artist or urban sketcher. Then we have this one by Liz Chatterton, and she's based in Berkshire. This is her third book. This is also done by crowwood.com, and Liz Chatterton does a lot on the Society for All Artists website as well, the SAA website. By the way, if you do become a member of the SAA, there are also videos that you can watch and paint along to as well. So this is Liz Chatterton. Materials and equipment: experimenting with ink, watercolor techniques, line and wash, changing the surface, adding a twist, and introducing a third medium. So here we can see a slightly different style than John Harrison. So a little bit about material. They all nearly always have a bit about materials and equipment, so I'm not going to go too much into that. And she's actually promoting the SAA watercolors that they make in this book. So there we go. You can see very sketchy, and then it's her choice of colors that makes her things stand out. Not necessarily the same kind of colors that look at this one, a scribble drawing. I mean, that is just very effective. Scribble drawing with a little bit of color, and then, oh look, my favorite splats. So yeah, that's what interests me. It's the, you know, she leaves things out and just adds some color. It's a completely different way of doing things, I think, and very effective. So there she's looking at some of the colors that she uses, information on watercolor and correcting mistakes. Okay, and then we move on to our line and wash techniques. I've got a little bit here. Yeah, see, look at the colors in this. There's something about the colors that she uses that intrigues me. There's a little accordion book. And I've got several of those, and I should really use them more in a follow it through kind of way, if that makes sense. Wow, That is lovely. That's when the paint layers were dry, using gel pens and white pen to outline some sections and add details, and then use a little bit of glitter pens for a little bit of sparkle. I think that's rather nice. So I'm sure that this is going to give me a lot of inspiration. Can you see what I mean by it's the mix of those colours that she uses that drew me to this book. I mean, she's used salt in there as well. I'm guessing. Yeah, salt. But you wouldn't normally think of using these blues and greens and oranges, and so I love the way that she sees these things differently. I actually really love that. A rough thumbnail. That's beautiful. Oh, and there's the finished hair. Yeah, the colours in that are just stunning, really. So yes, there we go. Liz Chatterton. Line and wash painting. Love it. That's all of our line and wash out of the way. So what I have next are what I call these little pocket books. And these are really handy to stick in your backpack or your travel kit if it's big enough. So we have, let's get the ones out that are, okay, so we have 3 here that are called the Pocketbook for Watercolour Artists. The first one is by Terry Harrison, well-known watercolour artist. I have several of his books, and I have some of his brushes as well, because they are really interesting. The ones that do foliage, for example. You've seen me use that one. If I can find it in here, here we go. So this is one of Terry Harrison's brushes. This is the foliage brush, and it's got that lovely bit on the end so that you can pull out some of the paint to give the impression of like trees in the background, that kind of thing. So this is Terry Harrison's pocket watercolor book. This is Jeff Kersey, another well-known watercolor artist, and also Charles Evans. So these are 3 very well-known, consistent watercolor artists, and they've each come up with their own little pocket book with over 100 essential tips to improve your painting. So they're all labelled up exactly the same. They're all by Search Press, but they're different artists' perspectives on things. So let's have a little look at the Terry Harrison one. And I mean, they will probably all have the same kind of content. So we've got an introduction, what to buy, colour, using photographs, mixing your watercolours, washes. We've got the wet into wet, the wet on dry, watercolour problems, masking things out, lifting things out. And then this one goes into various things that you might want to get better at. So painting skies, painting distance, painting fields, painting trees, grasses, flowers, mountains, water, beaches, rocks, cliffs, boats, roofs, walls, windows, doors, stiles, gates and fences, winter scenes, adding life into your painting. So it could be an animal, could be a person, and then you've got an index at the back there. So let's get past all those material things and let's start looking at, here we go. So painting skies, different ways of painting skies, lifting the board to make the colour run. I did this recently, and I'd put bleed proof white in with Payne's Grey. Oh, it worked beautifully. Lifting out the sun with a coin. So these are all little tips and tricks, if you like. And We've got one on painting trees, painting grasses, scraping out the grasses. Now that's what I meant, where you put your colour down and then you scrape the colour out. And you can do the same with masking fluid, painting flowers. So you can see Terry Harrison's kind of style of work here. Painting walls. So I think these are like little watercolor Bibles almost. Ways of painting windows. Here we've got, I love the winter scenes. Maybe because I was born in December, but they are one of my favourites. But it's packed full of information in a very small. They're all the same size. These are 8.5 by 6. So that one is Terry Harrison's. Let's have a look at Jeff Kersey. And yes, his has got very much the same kind of contents, if you like. So let's have a little look at the contents here. Paintings. So here's his painting skies. And then we've even got painting a sunset in this one. We've got the hills and mountains. So you can see we've got a different style going on. Painting trees. Autumn foliage. Painting water. That's done with a scalpel or a craft knife, and you scrape the you can scrape a little bit of the paint off. You just have to be careful not to go through the paper completely, but or you can do it with a very dry brush and gouache. Tumbling water, look. Painting buildings. Looking for a good vantage point. Boats. In a way, it depends, you know, which artist you are maybe drawn more towards. I think they've all got their own merits, which is why I have all three. This is the Charles Evans book. Let's just move my... I like the fact that it's got photographs of each of them in the front there. Similar kind of contents. There he is. He's a very personable chap. Clever little tricks, he calls it. So we've got the bit about paint and equipment, and that's in all of them. So here we go with some skies and how you might use different techniques to get those skies. A stormy sky, sunset, creating depth. He talks a bit about Hooker's Green. He uses Hooker's Green a lot, not on its own, but he uses it to mix his greens. So with yellows and yellow ochres and yeah, rather than buying convenience greens, because obviously greens are mixes of blue and yellow, really, or mostly anyway. So rather than buying convenience greens, he mixes his own. So then we've got a bit about trees, and how he uses his brush to do these trees. I actually used this to do an ivy clad tree, and it did come out like that. I still have that painting, and I was rather proud of it at the time. So I've definitely used this one quite a lot. I've used it to help with doing my what I call my carrot people, and I even have used it to you know, get some cows. And I wish I'd have looked at this the other day when I was trying to draw flying geese. But anyway, yeah, we've got dogs, we've got horses, so slightly different to the other books because we've got some animals in there, but we have got walls and then buildings and man-made structures, a little bit about boats and bridges, and then a bit about water. And you know, they all go about it in a slightly different way, which is so interesting. And so it's worthwhile trying some of these things out to see which you prefer. So here we are, snow scene. See, yet again I go vroom there. That's what I like. Maybe that's where my style needs to move towards. Anyway, so those three are the pocketbooks for watercolour artists with over 100 essential tips by three different, very well-known watercolour artists. The other two books are quite specific topics. That's distracting. Let's move that out of the way. Let's start with this one. This is Terry Harrison again. And this one is the 30-minute artist painting water in watercolour. So this is purely about painting water. There is Terry Harrison. And so we've got all the different types of water bridging and the kind of buildings and boats and things that would go with it. That is lovely. So yes, we've got all these different water scenes. Yet again, we've got a bit about the equipment and colours, and then we've got quick techniques that we can start to try out. Talks about how to get reflections in the water, how to do puddles, which I think is so useful. I can remember practicing some of this and getting these rippled reflections. So this is all about water. If you look, these are all kind of water scenes, and I've tried that one as well. In fact, I'm not sure what order this is going to come out in, but if you look at, where is it? There we go. If you look at my picture of Lowestoft that I did that on plein air, but I've been through this book myself, and yeah, I've kind of used some of the techniques from this book to get my seascape in. And I think, is there another one? Yeah, there's another one over here, and I'm pretty sure that was not me taking this book with me, but it's where I'd practiced before and was using the techniques whilst out and about. So there we go. Yeah. So this, if you love painting water, or you are based by, you know, near water, if that's where you live, if that's, you know, your base, you can see that I've used this book because I've scribbled things on the top. Then this might be the book for you, because it's really going to help you know, get that effect, whatever effect it is that you're looking for with water. So yeah, smashing book, all about water, and same size as these. Such a handy little book. So if I was going away and I was going, maybe I was going to Cornwall on the coast, then I might be taking this book with me to help me, you know, get the effects that I want when I'm away. Now this one is slightly different again. This is the Charles Evans. So Charles Evans again, but this is what he calls his watercolor rescue. Top tips for correcting your mistakes and, what I like best, preventing them in the first place. So this one is, let's have a look at our contents first of all. introduction, where to get help, equipment, techniques and composition, colour mixing and water control, achieving realism in nature, in buildings and structures, the end game. And then there's an index. So where to get help is like an index here. So if you need help on colour choice or colour mixing or water control problems, then it tells you to look at page 2, 26, 27, 28. So if we go to 26, for example, my paper keeps getting waterlogged. So, you know, it gives you an idea where to look for the mistake that you've made. A bit about equipment, colours, mixing greens. So, yep, I did remember it correctly. He only has one green on his palette and it's called Hooker's Green. And then he mixes it with other colours to get all these different greens. Fabulous. So look at this. I've used a hairdryer to speed up the drying and it's caused cockling. How do I avoid it? The surface of my watercolour paper seems to be rubbing off in bits. How to avoid that, but it does tell you, you know, what you can do to help put things right. What else have we got here? My objects look flat in watercolour pencil. How do I avoid that? My graduated wash isn't graduated. What have I done? I can't seem to soften the colours together and get rid of hard edges. What else have we got here? My picture looks unbalanced somehow. What is the rule of thirds anyway? I get cauliflowers. My colour mixes are too thick. One colour is bleeding into another. How do I avoid it? My trees look like lollipops. So we've got all these things that could go wrong, and how we might correct them and how to avoid it. I can't get drama in my skies. Can't seem to get my shadows in the right place. My hedges look all wrong. I mean, there's loads in here. I can't get movement into my waterfalls. Yeah, he's come up with all these things that, you know, many of us might struggle with, and he helps us to correct that. So, handy book to have. Charles Evans, Watercolour Rescue, Top Tips. So these were all by Search Press. I don't know if it says $8.99, $8.99. Yep, $8.99. Actually, the one on water was only $6.99, but these might cost more now. I will put links to, that one was $9.99. I will put links to everything that I have shown you in the description below. I hope that my June offering of books, our little you know, sharing of books that we have, I hope that's interested you. And please don't forget to subscribe, hit that notice bell, do the thumbs up for me if you can. It really helps me to keep going with the channel, basically. So until next time, as always, have a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay calm, and I will see you next time.